We're joined by Joey Logano, driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford for Team Penske, a two-time winner here at Talladega Superspeedway in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. I know you've experienced the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows this week. How eager are you just ready to get on the racetrack and get going?
Oh, of course we're ready to get on the racetrack. Any week we're ready to get on the racetrack, no matter what. But Talladega has been a good racetrack for us in the past. Really, it's either really good or really bad. In all honesty, we've either had a car that's capable of winning or we crash. It kind of seems how it is for this team. But I'm all right with that. I've come to being okay with that. The way these races play out. So, I'm looking forward to getting out there and knocking a little bit of the rust off. Every time you come to these super speedways, you haven't done it in a little bit. It takes a lap or two to kind of get used to the lingo again with your spotter and what's going on, and getting used to that four wide draft that you see here at Talladega. Makes it a lot of fun for us. So, ready to get out there and have some fun today. Good
deal. We'll open the floor up for questions. We will start over here on the right here with Lee and then go to Bob.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Can you just talk a little bit about how this win feels to you personally, since it is encumbered? I mean, how do you view it? Do you view it like any other win that you would have?
I personally do, yes, because I think what happened was something that's very, very small. What we got in trouble for was something that really didn't make our car any faster. It wasn't enough to make it much faster. So, personally inside, I still look at it as a win. But obviously from the outside, it's we've lost all the benefits of the win. We've lost the playoff points. We've lost a lot of regular points. We've lost my crew chief for a couple of weeks. We've lost some cash. The penalty is pretty severe. With that being said, like I said, it wasn't like it was a big thing, but the rule is written in this black and white, and we pushed a little bit too far, and we'll pay that penalty, and we'll move on and attack again. So the silver lining to it all, I think, is this team has a great attitude, and we're able to obviously race very hard and we race aggressively, whether that's apparently everywhere, but we race aggressive on the racetrack and off the racetrack, and that's why we're successful, and that's why we win races. And we're going to continue to do that because we have the right attitude to go out there and push hard, and we'll get through this little tough time without our crew chief, but we have a lot of depth at Team Penske that we can look back at that, and we'll have Greg up on the box for Sunday, and we have Miles, our race engineer, which is involved with every step of the way, every single week with Todd, every weekend. So that'll be, I think, a great fit. He's been with us for a while now, and he knows me, and we have a great relationship as well. So we're able to, he knows the right questions to ask me to get the information out that he needs to make the adjustments. So, is it going to be tough? Yes. Do I feel like we're as prepared as we possibly can be? Yes.
Okay, we'll go next to Bob, then to Jenna, then to Mike, and then Jordan.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. You said the penalty was severe and was something small. Do you feel it was too severe? And then also, where do you guys go from here? Some people would say, well, don't push it as hard. Some people might say it's quality control. Others might say you just need to swerve better after a race.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with swerving with what happened. It's just a matter of like I said, I drive the car. I don't really know what's underneath it, to be honest with you, all the time. From what I was told is, we just had a small gap underneath the truck arm to the housing. From what I was told, from what I understand of it, and it's very, very small. The rule is black and white that it must be flush, and it probably apparently had a little bit of a gap. Like I said, it wasn't a big deal, but it is black and white, and for that reason, we'll have to pay a penalty for that.
Go to Jenna, then to Mike Embry, and then to Jordan.
Joey, any idea, both the 2 and the 22 were taken back, why one would pass and the other wouldn't?
Probably a better question for Travis or someone that's a little bit more into the technical side of it. As a race car driver, yes, I might in tune of what's going on to a certain point, right? Not completely as much as the guys that are actually building the cars. So I don't want to give you the wrong answer, so probably a better question for Travis or one of the Team Penske executives.
But you sort of answered it with Bob. You're adamant that it was not because Brad apparently did swerve.
It has nothing to do with swerving. No.
Go next to Mike.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. Joey, there's quite a string of penalties involved with this. Some of that's over, but what's the biggest penalty going forward? Is it losing Todd for a couple of weeks? Is it losing the count of the win? What's the biggest damage?
D, all the above. It's tough. Losing Todd is a very big piece of our race team, and that's something that's very challenging. Losing the playoff points is something that's very big as well. And then you think about this 25 regular season points. That's basically playoff points, if you want to look at it that way. If it's the way to set us up for, at the end of these first 26 races of the way the playoff points are handed out, that's a pretty big hit as well. So, we're taking the hit for sure. And it's not going to be easy to overcome it. But like I said, anytime something like that happens, and you get a lot of the knockback from media or fans or whatever you're going to hear, it drives you to win a little bit more. So we're looking at silver lining as something that's making us drive to win more, make us a little bit more determined to make it happen. And, so I think we can make up those points with the right attitude.
Joey, Jordan Bianchi, SB Nation. Fairly or not, this is the second penalty Penske's had this year when you take into account what happened to Brad earlier this year. Is it fair to say, you kind of guys have gotten this reputation of, kind of pushing things a little bit. Is it fair? Is that a fair reputation? Do you like having that black hat of the team that is kind of, running afoul of inspectors, or what's your impression of that?
Honestly, I don't believe that we wear a black hat or anything like that. I think we're the most professional organization out here. I think we push as hard as we can because we're looking for hundredths of a second. Every race team is. Fact of the matter is we're winning right now, and when your car wins, it gets put through tech a lot, right? That's the way I look at it, is that we're successful right now, and that's why our car has to go through tech, and that's just part of it. But we're going to have to push as hard as we can to be successful. And sometimes do you go over that line? Apparently, every now and again you may, but you have to find that edge and get right to it. And it's a fine line. Like I said, if you go a little bit over, we're talking about today. So that's clear. The communication's clear to the race team about that. But we have to get as close to that edge as we possibly can to be successful, to actually win races.
Okay, we're going to go to the left to Jerry, then the right to Caleb, then up front to Bob, and to Chase.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and Performance Racing Network. Joey, a lot of times, fans lash out on Twitter. They call teams cheaters, things like that. You guys, you talked about pushing the envelope, but you owned this. You came out, you said, we did it, it's over, we'll take our penalty and go on. A lot of people responded with that shows integrity on your part and the team's part. Can you address that?
Like I said, I feel like Roger Penske is a stand-up person, and he takes things like a man. He understands the situation. He's a racer, right? He races to win, but he has a lot of integrity, and he's a very professional person. And I feel like our company's the most professional company in the sport, and I feel like every one of you guys would probably agree with that. I know from internally seeing how things are done, I believe that for sure. Anytime there's controversy, I'm a big believer of hitting it head on and talking about it, because the more you kind of hide from something, for one, you look guilty, and two, people are going to speculate a lot of different things on what it was and how bad it's going to be. And that's not just with something like this today. It could be anything, in life, right? If you have an issue with your wife or your friends or whatever, you're best off talking about it as soon as you can and not letting it sit. And I think we've taken that approach with any situation that comes up, is that, hey, let's hit this head on, let's talk about it, let's get out what actually happened and what's the story, and then let's move forward. Let's get past it, move on, and focus back in on winning races, and not worried about what stories are written about us or blah blah blah.
We'll go to Caleb on your right, and then to Bob, and then to Chase.
Caleb Whistler, Speedway Digest. Penalty aside, how would you assess the first 25% of this season, and do you see as your strengths and weaknesses going into the next quarter?
Yeah, it's a great question. For us personally, as a 22 team, we were able to kick off the season great with the win at the Clash. That was nice, and we've since then had decent speed in our cars. The beginning part of the year, we didn't execute perfectly during the race, so we didn't get many stage points, but we were able to recover really well and get a lot of top 5s and top 10s so far this year. Our average finish is great. I think, last week we were able to get through and win the race. That's a nice thing. Obviously, this is a little bit of a setback. So I think in general we're doing a good job. I think we've cleaned up the mistakes that we had earlier in the year to where now that we're running as well as we should during the event, which is going to help us score the stage points because we all know how big that is right now, and it will be, forever. So, I think the fact that we cleaned up our races a little bit, that's a big deal. And our speed's still really well, right? We have good speed in our cars, so those wins will start clicking off is good. So I feel happy with where we're at. I think we have an average finish of around 6th or 7th with the blown right front at Phoenix and a 30-something finish there. So, I'm proud of the way we've handled our situations this year and the finishes that we've been getting. And the way we've been recovering, I think that's an A+. And I think we've cleaned up to where we don't have to recover as much, hopefully, here in the future.
Bob?
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Obviously, with the new rear suspension rules this year, it seems to be a focus of NASCAR's, and everybody talks about pushing the envelope. So after wins, are you nervous? Are you waiting for Tuesday? I mean, do you think eventually something's going to happen where you're going to fail if you win as many times as you've won?
No, not at all. If I'm nervous or worried about that, I'm probably not focused in on my job. And, I'm probably not going to be the best race car driver I can possibly be. No.
Chase?
Chase Wellman, Fox Sports. Joe, you said, going back to the penalty, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't enough to really have a big impact. But at the end of the day, even though you want to move on, do you agree with it, the penalty?
Yeah, the penalty is the penalty, I don't know if the headline you guys wrote yesterday is what was fair to be called someone an SOB. I think that's a little bit ridiculous, in all honesty. So the penalty is the penalty, and we'll get through it the way we know how to, like I said.
Okay. Well, Joey, thank you for taking the time to join us this morning, and good luck this weekend,
Thank you. Appreciate it.